Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Cheva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udiraye Shinvatam Swakata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtanaha Udayantasto hi abhadrani vidunoti suhritsatam nashtaprayeshu abhadreshu nityam bhagavata seva ye sevaya bhagavate uttama sloke bhaktir bhavati naistiki. So today we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 12, verses 24 to 26. Verse 24. Tatsya kila jagad dhatur avam devasya saranginaha parshadav iha sampraptau netum tvam bhagavat padam. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. We are representatives of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the creator of the whole universe, who carries in his hand the bow named Saranga. We have been specifically deputed to take you to the spiritual world. Purport. In Bhagavad Gita, Lord says that simply by knowing his transcendental pastime, whether within this material world or in spiritual world, anyone who understands factually who he is, how he appears, and how he acts can be immediately fit for transfer to the spiritual world. This principle stated in the Bhagavad Gita operated in the case of King Dhruva. Throughout his life, he tried to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead by austerity and penances. Now, the mature result was that Dhruva Maharaja become fit to be carried to the spiritual world, accompanied by confidential associates of the Lord. Verse 25. Sudurjayam Vishnupadam Jitam Tvaya Yat Surayo Prapya Vichakshate Param Atishta Tachandra Divakarodayo Grahaksha Tara Pariyanti Dakshinam. Translation: To achieve Vishnu Loka is very difficult, but by your austerity you have conquered. Even the great rishis and demigods cannot achieve this position. Simply to see the supreme abode, the Vishnu planet, the sun and moon, and all other planets, stars, lunar mansions, and solar systems are circumambulating it. Now, please come. You are welcome to go there. Purport. Even in the material world, so-called scientists, philosophers, and mental speculators strive to merge into the spiritual sky. But they can never go there. But a devotee, by executing devotional service, not only realizes that what the spiritual world actually is, but factually goes there to live an eternal life of bliss and knowledge. The Krishna conscious movement is so potent that by adapting these principles of life and developing love of God, can one can very easily go back home, back to Godhead. Here, the principal example is the case of Dhruva Maharaj. While the scientists and philosophers go to the moon but are disappointed in their attempts to stay there and live, the devotee makes an easy journey to other planets and ultimately goes back to Godhead. Devotees have no interest in seeing other planets, but while going back to Godhead, they see all of them as passing phases, just as one who is going to distant place passes through many small stations. Verse 26. Anastitam te pitrubhir anyair api anga karhichit atishta jagatam vandyam tad vishnu paramam padam. Translation: Dear King Dhruva, neither your forefathers nor anyone else before you ever achieved such transcendental planet. The planet known as Vishnu Loka, where Lord Vishnu personally resides, is the highest of all It is worshipable by the inhabitants of all other planets within the universe. Please come with us and live there eternally. Purport. When Dhruva Maharaja went to perform austerities, he was very determined to achieve a post never dreamed by his forefathers. His father was Uttarapada, his grandfather was Manu, and his great grandfather was Lord Brahma. So Dhruva wanted a kingdom even greater than Lord Brahma could achieve, and he requested Narada Muni to give him facility for achieving it. The associates of Lord Vishnu reminded him that not only his forefathers, but everyone else before him was unable to attain Vishnu Loka, the planet where Lord Vishnu resides. This is because everyone within this material world is either a karmi, a jnani, or a yogi, but there are hardly any pure devotees. The transcendental planet known as Vishnu Loka is especially meant for devotees, not for karmis, nanis, or yogis. Great rishis or demigods can hardly approach Brahma Loka. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, Brahma Loka is not a permanent residence. Lord Brahma's duration of life is so long that it is difficult to estimate even the duration of one day in his life. And yet, Lord Brahma also dies, as do the residents of his planet. Bhagavad Gita 8:16 says, Abrahma Bhuvanar Loka Punanavartino Arjuna. Except for those who go to Vishnu Loka, everyone is subjected to the four principles of material life, namely birth, death, old age, and disease. The Lord says, Yadgatvana Nivartante Taddama Paramam Mama. The planet from which once going, no one returns is my supreme abode. Bhagavad Gita 15:6. Dhruva Maharaja was reminded, you are going in our company to the planet from which no one can return to the material world. Material scientists are attempting to go to the moon and other planets, but they cannot imagine going to the topmost planet, Brahmaloka, for it is beyond their imagination. By material calculation, traveling at the speed of light, it would take 40,000 light years to reach the topmost planet. By mechanical process, we are unable to reach the topmost planet of this universe. But the process called Bhakti Yoga, as executed by Maharaja Dhruva, can give one facility not only reach the other planets within this universe, but also to reach beyond this universe to the Vishnu Loka planets. We have outlined this in our small booklet, Easy Journey to Other Planets. Namo Vishnu Padaya, Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale, Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Itinamane, Namaste Saraswati Deve, Gauravani Pracharine, Nirvishesha Shunyavadi, Paschatya Deshatarane, Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita Gadadara, Sivasadi, Gaurav Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. I like to seek blessings from all the assembled devotees. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to purify myself. Please forgive me any shortcomings. So we are in the chapter 12 of Canto 4, titled Dhruva Goes Back to Godhead. So in the first few verses, we talk about, we heard about Kuvera's instructions and benedictions to Dhruva Maharaj, and then it talks about Dhruva's glorious rule and renunciation, and uh, um and also Dhruva Maharaj ascends to Dhruvaloka, and now this is the section we are in, Dhruva Maharaj ascending to Dhruvaloka, and last few verses, last Vishnu and Vishnu's associates arrived in the aeroplane, and Dhruva folds his hands and chants the holy name of Lord, taking the shelter of lotus feet of Krishna, and verse 23 to 27, the Lord's associates, confidential associates, Nanda and Sunanda, came to Dhruva Maharaj to take him uh, back home Godhead. So here, Nanda and Sunanda is speaking to Dhruva Maharaj and invite him to aboard the plane. Um, so the verse 24 talks about um, so here Nanda and Sunanda is welcoming Dhruva Maharaj. They came to take him. they're introducing that they are associates of the Supreme Lord, and Supreme Lord is the who is the creator of all universes. He is Akila Jagan Dhatur, and he also holds the bow called Saranga, and they have come to take him to the spiritual world in Bhagavad. So Prabhupada explained his purport. You know, in the Bhagavad Gita, as it states that only Lord can, simply by knowing the Lord's transcendental pastimes, one can understand who He is and who acts, can be immediately fit to transfer to the spiritual world. Here, Dhruva Maharaj, with his, austerity and penances, and even at the age of 5, he become a fit to be eligible to go to the spiritual world. And here, so as he achieved, Krishna's mercy, Krishna, Vishnu sent, his confidential associates to take him back to Godhead. So here, like in speculators, materialists, and impersonalists, all of others, they try very hard with their, material senses uh, to realize the things, but it's very hard for them to even go to the other planets. And without having Krishna as a center, without being a pure devotional service, all these karmis and jnanis and others who cannot achieve anything in the transcendental abode. And as Dhruva Maharaj with achieved the status, mercy of the Lord by fully surrendering unto Him and with a severe penances, see Lord Himself send His personal associates to bring him back to the his abode. And verse 25 to 26 talking about about Vishnu Loka. Vishnu Loka is very difficult to achieve, and and they're telling that as with your austerity, you have conquered even the greatest rishis and demigods cannot what they cannot achieve. And it also says that the sun and moon and all other planets are circumambulating the Vishnu Loka, because they cannot even enter that Loka, but they have they can have a darshan by circumambulating it. And so please come, and we'll take you there. And also here, Prabhupada says in the purport that Krishna conscious movement is so potent just by adapting those for regulative principles and developing the love of God. One can easily go back to home, back to Godhead. So here, Dhruva Maharaj is a very good example, practical example for every one of us. It is possible, as long as we follow the principles and we fully surrendering to the Krishna, and we also, take the instructions of spiritual masters and following his instructions. So, so it says that there are scientists, philosophers, and speculators do a lot of things and a lot of endeavor, but it's not fruitful, and whatever they achieve it is temporary only. But whereas one who fully surrender to the Krishna, who takes the path of devotional service, and they don't have any other interest in seeing other planets or getting any material benefits, and they will go back to Godhead. It's compared to that elevator. When one has to go to the final stage in the elevator, you go through the different floors, and if you open the door, and if you get attracted to go and see what's there in that floor, people again entangle into that cycle, and they may be enjoying there for some time, but again they have to fall out. So but whereas the devotees, their ultimate goal is not to take any floors, they directly go back to the Krishna Sabbath. And in the verse 26, still continuing talking about the Vishnu Loka, it's very rare to achieve, and it's not attained by any neither through Maharaj forefathers or before, and that is the transcendental planet, and it's also called Vishnu Loka, where on Lord Vishnu, personally resides. and it is worshipped by the all inhabitants of the all other planets within this universe. So when Dhruv Maharaj went to perform the austerities, he was very determined to achieve the post where, when not achieved by any of his forefathers, and his father Uttanapada, or his grandfather Manu, or his great grandfather Brahma, and he asked Narada how to achieve it. Narada gave the instruction, how to perform the devotional service and how to meditate upon the Lord's holy name, and so now it become fruitful. Dhruv Maharaj, all the severe penances and austerity, and Lord is pleased by his sincerity and his surrenderness. So, so here, the Lord's associates are reminding him that, not no one has achieved uh, in his dynasty, and which he could able to achieve very easily. And in the purport Prabhupada is talking about, you know, uh, either karmi or jnani or yogi, but as long as they're not the pure devotees, nobody can able to achieve. So all those jnanis and all have a, mixed devotion or mixed bhakti, but we want something pure devotional service, which is the only way we can attain the abode of Krishna. And some people say that it's about Brahmaloka also, but even Brahmaloka is also not a permanent residence, and it's also a temporary. And Brahma's duration life is so long, but it is difficult to estimate even the duration of one day in Brahmaloka. But ultimately, when the even Lord Brahma also dies, and also is also and the residents of his planet. So in the verse 8:16 in Bhagavad Gita talks about, Abrahma Bhuvanar Loka Punaravartino Arjuna Mamupetya Kaunteya Punarjanma Navidyate. From highest planet in the material world down to the lowest planets, all planets are full of misery, wherein repeated birth of death takes place. But one who attains my abodes, O son of Kunti, never takes birth again. So that's what the word says 16. And when there is a devastation of material universe, Brahma and his devotees who are constantly engaged in Krishna consciousness are all transferred to the spiritual universe and to the specific spiritual planets according to the desires. And also it quoted about verse 15.6 in the Bhagavad Gita text that that supreme abode of mine is not illuminated by the sun or moon or fire or electricity, but those who reach it never return to his material world. So here in that Prabhupada talks about in the purport, the spiritual abode is world is abode of Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, and in the spiritual sky there is no need for sunshine or moonshine or fire. All the planets are self luminous, and as long as the living entity is in darkness of material world and is in a conditional life, but as soon as he reaches the spiritual sky, cutting through the false and perverted tree of the material world, he becomes liberated. So there is no chance of coming back from here. So by knowing all this information, one should desire to transfer himself to the eternal world and extricate himself from this false reflection of reality. So, in summary, the first few verses talking about, only by surrender, one can achieve the supreme abode, but not with any material endeavors and power seeking. And Dhruv Maharaj achieved um, this only in the age of 5, and Krishna's confidential associate came to take him back to his abode. And verse 24 and 25 talks about Vishnu Loka, how it is very rarely to achieve, and um, uh, all the other planets and mansions are circumambulating it. They cannot even enter into the Vishnu Loka, but Dhruv Maharaj got the opportunity to go there, and it has not been achieved by Dhruva's forefathers, or no one else ever achieved this transcendental planet. And Lord Vishnu resides in that planet, and it's worshipped by all the inhabitants of the other planets. With that, I can conclude to the session. Please forgive me for any shortcomings.